It was a crisp autumn evening in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. The city's skyline shimmered with the promise of a new night as upscale hotels prepared to host private events that blended elegance with urban vibrancy. In one such grand hotel, on a high-rise floor boasting expansive floor-to-ceiling windows with breathtaking views of the bustling streets below, a tight-knit group of longtime friends had gathered. They had come together to celebrate a milestone in their lives, a reunion marked by shared memories, laughter, and the hope of a carefree night. The room was adorned with pristine white linens, tastefully arranged floral centerpieces, and minimalist decor that spoke of understated sophistication. A soft instrumental melody played in the background, perfectly complementing the gentle hum of conversation and the clinking of crystal glasses filled with finely crafted cocktails. Among the group was Mike, known throughout their circle for his blunt wit and a penchant for playful teasing. Always quick with a remark, he possessed a seemingly innate ability to lighten any mood. However, on this particular night, as the conversation meandered through nostalgic recollections and light-hearted banter, a certain tension loomed beneath the surface. At the center of this subtle unease sat Barron, a young man burdened by a legendary name and the enormous expectations that came with it. Despite bearing the surname of a high-profile family, Barron longed to be recognized for his individuality rather than as a mere extension of his famous lineage. His appearance was impeccable, neatly styled hair, a sharply tailored suit, and an almost imperceptible reserved smile that rarely graced his features. In moments like these, amidst the warmth of familiar faces, he yearned to be seen simply as another friend, free from the weight of public scrutiny and unyielding expectations. As the night wore on and laughter filled the space, the conversation took an unexpected turn when the topic shifted to the nature of fame and the burdens of legacy. Sensing an opening for his signature humor, Mike leaned in conspiratorially toward Barron. With a mischievous glint in his eye, he quipped, "Barron, you always look like an accessory to Big Trump, like you're never quite good enough to have your own identity." The words tumbled out with the careless ease of a joke meant only to amuse, and for a brief moment, several friends chuckled in response. Yet, almost instantly, the atmosphere shifted. The lightness that had once permeated the room dissipated into a heavy, uncomfortable silence. At that precise moment, Barron's expression altered dramatically. The subtle brightness in his eyes was replaced by a sudden, piercing hurt. His face, ordinarily so composed and calm, betrayed a flash of pain that spoke of deeper, long-held wounds. His hands, which had been relaxed moments earlier, now involuntarily clenched on the table, as if trying to anchor himself against a surge of overwhelming emotion. The casual remark had struck him in a way that no one had anticipated. It wasn't merely a playful tease, it was a reminder of the constant scrutiny he endured, a reminder that his existence was often measured against an impossible standard. In the immediate aftermath, the room's energy was transformed. Laughter that had once danced through the air was now replaced by a collective, almost tangible tension. James, ever the mediator of the group, exchanged a look of deep concern with Lisa, whose empathetic nature made her particularly sensitive to the subtle shifts in mood. The initial mirth that accompanied Mike's remark was fading rapidly, replaced by the dawning realization that what was meant to be a harmless joke had, in fact, cut much deeper than anyone had imagined. Mike himself sat in a state of dawning regret. His confident smile faded as he recognized the gravity of his words. A flush crept up his cheeks while his eyes darted from Barron to the other friends, silently pleading for an explanation, for a way to undo the unintended harm. The room, illuminated by the soft glow of designer lamps and the gentle reflections off polished surfaces, could offer no reprieve from the heavy truth that had now taken hold. It was clear to everyone that beneath every light-hearted comment could lurk a reservoir of unhealed pain, a pain that, once stirred, demanded acknowledgement and understanding. The elegant surroundings, the carefully arranged decor, the sophisticated music, and even the ambient lighting, seemed almost mocking in the face of such raw, human emotion. What had begun as a jovial evening filled with shared stories and heartfelt laughter was rapidly descending into a moment of reckoning. Each friend was forced to confront not only the immediate sting of Mike's remark but also the broader implications it had for Barron, who had always struggled to assert his individuality in the shadow of a famed family legacy. The room was now a microcosm of conflicting emotions, regret, empathy, and an uneasy awareness that every word spoken could have far-reaching consequences. In that charged atmosphere, every detail took on heightened significance. The clinking of glassware and the murmur of subdued conversation became background noise to the more pressing internal dialogues unfolding in the hearts of everyone present. It was a moment when the line between harmless humor and genuine hurt had become irrevocably blurred. The friends began to understand with a painful clarity that the simplicity of a joke could mask the complexity of a person's inner life, a life marked by struggles that often remained hidden behind a carefully constructed facade. As the night continued, the silence that had descended over the group was not simply a pause in conversation, but a collective space for introspection. Each friend was left to grapple with the realization that their interactions, so often taken for granted, were imbued with a delicate fragility. In that shared silence, a subtle unspoken promise emerged, the promise to be more mindful of the weight of their words, and the recognition that true friendship required sensitivity and genuine care. In Atlanta that night, amid the glimmering lights and stylish surroundings, a single careless remark had sown the seeds for a profound journey of self-reflection and change, one that would forever alter the fabric of their relationships. In the immediate wake of Mike's offhand remark, the conviviality of the elegant lounge in the Atlanta hotel was swiftly replaced by a thick, oppressive silence. The initial burst of laughter that had briefly filled the room had vanished, leaving behind a heavy atmosphere laden with discomfort and unspoken pain. Barron's reaction to the comment was palpable. His eyes, once soft and unassuming, now flickered with the unmistakable signs of hurt. The hurt was not merely momentary. It was the resurfacing of wounds accumulated over years of bearing a name that carried both privilege and an unbearable burden. As he sat there, his hands trembled ever so slightly on the polished tabletop, a silent testament to the emotional turmoil raging inside him. James, always the peacemaker in their close-knit circle, was the first to break the suffocating silence. His voice, though soft and tentative, carried a weight of sincere concern as he asked, "Barron, can we talk about what just happened?" The question hung in the air like a fragile thread, its intent clear, to restore the balance of warmth and understanding that had suddenly been disrupted. Yet, his words did little to alleviate the tension. Instead, they seemed only to deepen the rift, as everyone present recognized that this was not a matter that could be swept under the rug with a simple inquiry. Mike's initial bravado had dissolved into visible regret. Gone was the confident glimmer in his eyes. Now, his gaze shifted nervously from Barron to his other friends as he attempted to justify his remark. "Guys, I didn't mean it like that," he stammered, his voice tinged with desperation. "I was just joking, I never thought it would hurt you." His words fell flat against the weight of the unanticipated consequences. The laughter that had briefly erupted at his comment now seemed painfully distant, replaced by the heavy realization that humor, when misdirected, could transform into a source of deep-seated hurt. Around the table, each friend began to experience their own internal crisis. Lisa's eyes brimmed with concern as she recalled similar instances from the past, instances where light-hearted teasing had inadvertently masked more profound emotional struggles. Her heart ached at the sight of Barron's pained expression, and she felt an overwhelming urge to reach out and offer comfort. Yet, in that charged moment, even simple gestures of support seemed fraught with the potential to exacerbate the underlying tension. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly heavy, each minute stretching out as unspoken questions and doubts filled the space. What had begun as an innocent gathering of friends was now morphing into an arena where old wounds were being revisited. Barron's silence was particularly telling. His eyes remained fixed on an indeterminate spot beyond the confines of the room, as if he were lost in memories of past indignities, moments when his individuality had been overshadowed by the expectations of a legacy he never chose. Each lingering second in that silence was a reminder to everyone present that words, however casually spoken, had the power to unlock deeply buried pain. As the tension escalated, small murmurs and hesitant exchanges began to ripple through the group. Tom, who had been silently absorbing the atmosphere, finally broke the spell with a measured tone. "We're friends here. We shouldn't let a thoughtless comment tear us apart." His words, earnest though they were, did little to dispel the heavy cloud of regret and sorrow that had settled over the gathering. It became painfully clear that this was not a trivial matter that could be dismissed with a few comforting words. Instead, it was a profound moment of reckoning, a juncture at which every member of the group was forced to confront the stark reality that their interactions carried far more significance than they had ever imagined. The conflict had now escalated well beyond the realm of mere banter. Each friend felt the stirring of unresolved emotions, a mix of guilt, shame, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. It wasn't just about Mike's ill-considered joke, it was about the realization that beneath the veneer of their daily laughter lay unspoken vulnerabilities, hidden struggles, and a fear of being misunderstood. The conversation, which had once flowed effortlessly, now faltered under the weight of this new awareness. In the dim light of the sophisticated lounge, every whispered exchange and every sidelong glance became a silent admission of personal failings and the collective missteps that had led them to this moment. The room, with its gleaming surfaces and meticulously arranged decor, now served as an unwitting stage for a deeper drama. A drama in which each friend was forced to confront not only the immediate fallout of a careless remark but also the long-term implications of a culture that too often prioritized humor over sensitivity. As the minutes dragged on, the friends began to realize that this incident was not an isolated event but a symptom of a broader issue: the ease with which one could inadvertently inflict emotional harm in the pursuit of a laugh. Slowly, as the charged silence deepened, an unspoken understanding began to emerge. The friends recognized that what they were experiencing was a turning point, a moment that demanded more than quick fixes or casual dismissals. It required an honest, unguarded conversation about the true cost of their words and the delicate nature of human vulnerability. In that heavy silence, every person present was compelled to reflect on their own behavior, their own participation in a culture that sometimes trivialized the very real pain hidden behind a smile. And so, amid the soft hum of the hotel's air conditioning and the distant sounds of the city that never slept, the group stood at the precipice of change, each heart burdened with the realization that healing would require courage, introspection, and a renewed commitment to empathy. Just as the tension in the room threatened to become unbearable, something unexpected began to unfold. In the midst of the stifling silence that had enveloped the elegant hotel room, Barron, until now a quiet, subdued presence, slowly rose from his seat. There was a measured determination in his movements, a deliberate effort to gather his thoughts and summon the strength he had long concealed. His usually downcast eyes now held a steady, fierce resolve, as if he had decided that no longer would he allow the weight of a careless comment to silence his truth. With the room watching in rapt attention, Barron cleared his throat and began to speak. His voice, at first soft and hesitant, gradually grew in clarity and conviction. "I've spent my whole life in a shadow," he began, his tone steady yet laced with a raw vulnerability. "Every morning, I wake up under the weight of a name that's not entirely my own, a legacy that defines me before I have the chance to define myself." His words, spoken with an intensity that silenced even the most fleeting whispers, struck a chord deep within everyone present. "When you laugh at a comment about my appearance or compare me to someone I'm not, it's not just a joke, it's a reminder that I'm always seen as less than who I truly am." As Barron continued, his speech unfolded like a heartfelt confession. "I am more than just a label or a prop in someone else's story," he declared. "I have dreams, fears, and struggles that you may never see on the surface. Every time I'm reduced to a punchline, it chips away at the chance for me to be recognized as an individual. I'm tired of being defined solely by my family's name, of having my identity shaped by expectations that I never asked for." His words resonated powerfully throughout the room, carrying with them the accumulated pain of years spent feeling invisible behind a facade imposed by fame. Each syllable was imbued with the quiet fury of a soul that had long borne its burdens alone. The impact of his speech was immediate and profound. A heavy silence settled over the room, a silence filled not with awkwardness but with an almost sacred sense of reflection. Faces that had once been animated by laughter were now etched with expressions of shock, remorse, and deep introspection. Even Mike, who had instigated the chain of events with his offhand remark, could only stare in disbelief at the courage and vulnerability that Barron had just displayed. In that moment, the boundaries between friend and stranger, humor and hurt, seemed to vanish altogether, replaced by an overwhelming recognition of a painful truth. Barron's unexpected response was not one of anger, but of measured dignity. "I'm not asking for pity," he continued, his voice firm yet compassionate. "I'm simply asking that you see me for who I am, a person with my own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. I refuse to let a careless remark define me or reduce me to something I'm not. Today, I'm standing up for my right to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood." His declaration hung in the air like a challenge, a call for his friends to reconsider not just the words they chose, but the underlying assumptions that guided them. As the echoes of his speech reverberated off the high ceilings and polished walls, something remarkable began to happen. The friends, who had been so accustomed to deflecting conflict with humor, now found themselves facing a moment of undeniable truth. Mike's confident veneer had crumbled, replaced by a dawning awareness of the deep-seated pain his words had caused. James, Lisa, and Tom exchanged looks of regret, their earlier attempts to brush off the incident now rendered futile by the raw honesty of Barron's words. The room, once filled with the easy banter of old friends, had transformed into a space of solemn reflection, a place where every individual was forced to confront the unintended consequences of their behavior. In that transformative silence, each person began to wrestle with their own inner dialogue. Mike recognized, perhaps for the first time, that humor had a dangerous double edge, one that could uplift but also deeply wound. The realization struck him with a painful clarity: words, however casually spoken, held the power to shape someone's self-worth. Meanwhile, the others were drawn into their own introspective reveries. They recalled moments in their past when a seemingly innocent comment had cut deeper than they had expected, and they questioned how often they had unknowingly contributed to such pain. The intensity of the moment was heightened by the understated elegance of their surroundings. The soft glow of designer lamps, the muted hum of the air conditioning, and even the subtle reflections on the glass surfaces all bore silent witness to the profound shift occurring within the group. Barron's voice, imbued with both sorrow and unwavering resolve, had become a clarion call for empathy, a call that challenged each friend to look beyond the surface and acknowledge the hidden struggles that defined their shared human experience. When he finally paused, the silence that followed was not empty. It was filled with an unspoken promise that this night would mark the beginning of something new. In that charged moment, every person present understood that Barron's unexpected response was more than just a reaction to a hurtful joke. It was an invitation to engage in honest, heartfelt dialogue about identity, respect, and the responsibilities we all bear in our interactions. The room, once poised on the brink of discord, now pulsed with the possibility of healing and transformation, a promise that, even in the wake of pain, true understanding could be born. In the wake of Barron's searing outburst, the ambience in the upscale hotel lounge shifted from one of tense uncertainty to a profound space for introspection and reevaluation. The powerful words he had spoken echoed through the room, lingering like an indelible imprint on the hearts of everyone present. The elegant surroundings, the soft lighting, the polished surfaces, and even the distant hum of the city outside, seemed to recede into the background as each friend was forced to confront the ramifications of that fateful moment. Mike, once buoyed by his habitual confidence, now sat with his head bowed and eyes full of regret. The playful energy he had once exuded was replaced by a heavy introspection. As he replayed the evening's events in his mind, he began to see that his careless joke was not a harmless jibe but a catalyst that had reopened long-forgotten wounds. Each glimpse he stole at Barron's pained expression served as a harsh reminder of the responsibility that came with every word he uttered. In that moment, Mike was forced to question how so often, in pursuit of a laugh, he had disregarded the unseen scars that others carried. James, who had long prided himself on his ability to mediate conflicts and keep the group's spirit light, felt a deep, personal failure. He had always believed that a few well-placed words could diffuse tension, but the gravity of what had occurred left him speechless. His eyes, which usually sparkled with good humor and reassurance, were now clouded with sorrow and self-reproach. James realized that true friendship demanded more than a veneer of joviality. It required the courage to face uncomfortable truths and to extend genuine empathy, even when it meant confronting one's own shortcomings. Lisa, whose empathetic nature had always made her the emotional cornerstone of the group, was overwhelmed by a wave of compassion and regret. She remembered times in the past when similar jokes had been made without thought, dismissed in the moment as harmless fun. But now, witnessing the raw hurt in Barron's eyes, she understood that such humor could conceal a much darker reality. The incident forced her to reflect on her own behavior and the times she might have overlooked the silent cries of a friend. With each passing minute, Lisa resolved to be more present, to truly listen, to see beyond the surface, and to ensure that every interaction was imbued with genuine care. The physical space of the hotel room seemed to mirror the internal landscape of the friends. The soft, ambient light that once created an atmosphere of relaxed sophistication now took on a somber quality, casting long shadows that spoke of regret and unspoken apologies. The once familiar decor and gentle background music faded into insignificance against the backdrop of a much more profound drama, a drama where each friend was compelled to re-examine the very foundations of their relationships. In hushed, tentative tones, they began to discuss not just the events of that night, but the deeper implications of their words and actions. What had been dismissed as harmless banter was now recognized as a stark reminder that even the smallest remark could reveal and exacerbate the hidden wounds that lay beneath. As the evening unfolded into a series of quiet, heartfelt conversations, several friends approached Barron individually to offer their apologies. Mike was the first to step forward, his voice trembling as he said, "Barron, I'm truly sorry for what I said. I never intended to hurt you, and I see now how thoughtless my words were." His apology, though simple, carried the weight of genuine remorse and a newfound understanding of the power of language. One by one, others followed suit, each expressing regret and pledging to be more mindful in the future. These sincere exchanges, though they could not erase the sting of the past, began to knit together the frayed edges of their bond. Within the charged silence of that night, a quiet revolution took place. The friends, each grappling with the consequences of a moment's insensitivity, slowly began to see that the incident was not merely an isolated mistake. It was a mirror reflecting deeper truths about themselves and their relationships. The consequences of that one careless joke extended far beyond the immediate hurt it had caused. It forced everyone present to acknowledge the delicate nature of human dignity and the profound impact that seemingly trivial words could have on one's sense of self. In the ensuing hours, as the formalities of the evening gave way to more personal, intimate conversations, the group recognized that true healing required more than just apologies. It demanded an honest re-examination of the unspoken rules that had long governed their interactions. They began to discuss how, in a world that often celebrated quick wit and superficial banter, it was all too easy to forget that behind every smile lay a story, behind every laugh concealed a struggle. The incident, painful as it was, had become a catalyst, a turning point that challenged them to build a culture of respect, understanding, and sincere care. Each friend left the gathering that night with a heavy but hopeful heart. They understood that while the scars of the evening might linger, they also presented an opportunity to transform their relationships. The realization was both sobering and uplifting. By confronting the consequences of their actions and embracing a more compassionate way of communicating, they could emerge stronger and more connected than ever before. In the quiet aftermath, the friends silently vowed that they would strive to ensure that their future interactions would honor not only the joy of shared laughter, but also the sanctity of each individual's inner world. At dawn, as the first light of a new day broke over Atlanta, the painful echoes of the previous night's events still resonated deeply within the hearts of the friends. The crisp morning air, imbued with a sense of renewal and possibility, provided a stark contrast to the lingering emotional heaviness that had enveloped them. Determined not to let the wounds of the past fester in silence, the group reconvened at a charming rustic coffee shop in the heart of downtown Atlanta, a place that epitomized both the vibrancy and the reflective spirit of the city. The coffee shop, with its warm wooden interiors, soft indie music playing in the background, and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, offered an inviting refuge for honest conversation. Seated around a large worn wooden table that bore the marks of many shared moments, the friends gathered not merely to sip their morning drinks, but to embark on a collective journey toward healing and understanding. The atmosphere was markedly different from the previous night's tension. There was now a tentative calm, a cautious hope that the painful lessons of yesterday might pave the way for a more empathetic future. Mike, whose remorse had been palpable the night before, broke the silence with a sincere confession. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," he began, his voice soft yet earnest. "I realize now that my joke wasn't just a careless remark, it was a reminder of the pain that we all sometimes carry silently. I want to do better, to think about the impact my words have on all of you." His words, imbued with genuine regret, set the tone for an open, unguarded conversation. One by one, the friends began to share their reflections on the incident, their voices a mix of vulnerability and determination. Barron, who had been the reluctant recipient of the earlier hurt, now spoke with a calm authority that spoke of quiet strength and resilience. "I'm not asking for sympathy," he said steadily. "I just want us to remember that every word we speak matters. Each of us has our own battles, our own burdens that we hide from the world. When we make light of those struggles, even inadvertently, we risk deepening the pain. I'm here to ask for a little more thoughtfulness and a lot more respect, not just for me, but for all of us." His measured tone and direct appeal resonated with everyone at the table, stirring feelings of remorse, understanding, and a shared commitment to change. James, who had always taken pride in his ability to smooth over conflicts with humor, acknowledged his own role in perpetuating a culture where thoughtless comments were often dismissed as mere banter. "We've all done it," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "I used to think that a good laugh was all that mattered, but I now see that there's a deeper cost to our words. We owe it to each other to be more mindful, to really listen and understand what lies beneath the surface." His candid confession was met with nods of agreement from the group, each person silently vowing to be more attentive and compassionate in their interactions. Lisa, the empathetic heart of the group, added, "Behind every joke, there's a hidden story, a struggle that isn't immediately visible. We need to remember that real friendship means more than just sharing laughs. It means being there for one another when things get tough. Let's commit to truly hearing each other's voices, even when it's uncomfortable." Her gentle yet firm words struck a chord, serving as both a reminder and a call to action. In that cozy coffee shop, far removed from the grandeur of the hotel and the sting of the previous night's events, the friends began to lay the groundwork for a renewed understanding of what it meant to care for one another. They discussed concrete steps to ensure that their future interactions would be more thoughtful and deliberate. They agreed to set aside regular times to check in with one another, to share not only their laughter but also their fears, disappointments, and hopes. This new commitment was not simply about avoiding future missteps. It was about building a foundation of trust, empathy, and mutual respect that would sustain them through the inevitable ups and downs of life. As the morning wore on and the sunlight filtered softly through the cafe's large windows, the conversation gradually shifted from apologies to reflections on the broader implications of their experience. They spoke of a world that often celebrated quick wit and snap judgments at the expense of genuine understanding, a world where the immediacy of humor sometimes drowned out the deeper, more meaningful dialogues about identity and worth. In sharing their personal stories, the friends discovered that many of the seemingly isolated moments of hurt were, in fact, interconnected threads of a much larger tapestry, a tapestry woven from the countless, unspoken struggles that each of them had endured. By the time they left the coffee shop, the group had not only reaffirmed their commitment to one another, but had also taken their first collective steps toward a more compassionate future. Mike's heartfelt apologies were no longer just words. They had become a pledge to change, a promise to be more thoughtful with every remark. James and Lisa resolved to foster an environment where vulnerability was not met with judgment but with understanding, while Barron, bolstered by the support of his friends, embraced his identity with renewed strength and a quiet determination to be seen for who he truly was. In the weeks and months that followed, their friendship deepened in ways they had never imagined. The painful episode of that autumn night became a turning point, a catalyst for ongoing dialogue and personal growth. Regular gatherings evolved into sessions of genuine, heartfelt conversation where every member of the group was encouraged to share their struggles, celebrate their triumphs, and most importantly, listen with empathy. The experience taught them that true friendship was not defined by the absence of conflict, but by the willingness to confront and learn from it. They learned that each word mattered, that humor was only as kind as the intention behind it, and that in a world full of noise, the quiet moments of sincere understanding were the ones that built lasting bonds. Looking toward the future, the group carried with them the conviction that their shared lessons would guide them through any challenge. They understood that mistakes were inevitable, but it was their response, marked by accountability, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to growth, that would ultimately define the strength of their connection. In the soft glow of every new day, they remembered the lesson of that fateful night, that true friendship is built not on unguarded laughter alone, but on the courage to face uncomfortable truths, to offer forgiveness, and to create space for the vulnerable parts of ourselves to be seen and valued.